Okay, so if you weren't here last week, we started our Square One art projects, and we are doing our self portraits again this year, just like we did last year. Of course, they'll look a little bit different though, because you look a little bit different. I only have two rules that I explain to the students, so if you weren't there, these are the two rules. One is pencil only, and probably a nice big good eraser too. But do not move on to tracing in Sharpie unless I give you approval and say, yes, you can. And do not move on to adding color with crayons or markers or anything yet. So no one should have anything on their Square and Art paper except for pencil until I tell you to switch to a different art material. Rule number two is don't go ahead of us. So if we are working on the eyes as a class and that's where we finish for the day, you should not move on to the nose thinking like, well, I know what's next, I know what to do. I want to give you helpful hints and I want us to talk about things first before we go ahead and move on to the next step. So, pencil only, and don't jump ahead of us. If we haven't done it, don't move on ahead of us. All right, so if you have your Square and Art papers at home, you're going to notice that you have this helpful handout that you've seen before attached to it. We will go in order, step by step together. Again, don't jump ahead. Also in the back, really helpful images for different ideas. So when we get to things like eyes or nose or your hair, you can look on the back and you don't have to copy this. It's just to give you inspiration and ideas and say, mine kind of looks like that. And you can use that as a guide for when you're drawing your own self-portrait, your picture or drawing of you. Now, your Square One Art papers already has this frame traced on it. I'm going to go ahead and trace mine right now so my paper will look just like yours. And really all that's doing is going to give us a frame or a border for your self-portrait. Now in this border, I talked to you about that in class saying you can do any design you want. It can be like just simple like line designs or shapes. It could be kind of like more of pictures, like if you wanted to do rainbows or stars or footballs, or if you wanted to make a pattern out of something and do like, a heart star. Totally up to you what you want to do in the space around the edge. You could even write your name in kind of bubble letters or the year. Just don't go too close to the top or too close to the bottom, just in case the printer kind of cuts off a little piece of it. You don't want to lose a part of your name. In fact, you look at my examples here, it might be a good option to write your name or the year inside the frame, like on your shoulder, if you have room up above your head. For this example, I wrote the name and the year inside, like with the portrait. So, a couple examples. And what we are going to work on for the first class that you missed would be step 1 and 2, the shape of your face, ears, neck, and shoulders. Okay. Let's take the handout out and read it together. Draw a capital U for your face. Now, it's going to start kind of in the middle. You want to leave room up top for the top of your head, up here. And you want to leave room for your neck and shoulders. So you're just making this capital U kind of in the middle of your paper. I'll go slow. Make it kind of as big as you can without not leaving yourself enough room. You don't want it to be too small. Remember, you have to fit eyes, nose, mouth inside this capital U. So you want it to be big enough. Now, once you're happy with it, make erasing if you need to erase anything. Darken it up once you're happy. Say that looks good to me. All right, now, once you're done with your capital U, we can move on to step 2. Let's start with the ears, okay? I want you to think of the letter C, kind of like a capital C and then a backwards C. Notice we left a little space from the top of our U. Drop down a little bit. So I'm going to drop down a little bit and make a capital C and then a backwards C for our ears. Then we're going to move on to the neck. Now I have a note here, no tiny skinny necks, because sometimes what I see is this. Little teeny neck. Now, does that neck look big enough for that big head? Probably not. So I'm going to go ahead and erase. And I want you to do like kind of a nice big, feel your own neck. Feel how big it is. It's a little bit long too, so don't be afraid. It doesn't have to be huge, but don't be afraid to make it look big enough to support the head that we drew. Might I think I'm going to make mine a little wider. All right. Now, once we've done the neck, we can move on to the shoulders. And I pretty much tell you the same thing for your shoulders. They're wider than you expect. Feel your own shoulders. Start at the bottom of your neck. Feel how they go out, 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 and then they curve down. So your shoulder starts at the bottom of your neck, and then feel it. It goes out, 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 way past your head, and then it curves down. So, like I said before, they don't have to be humongous, but try not to make them too small. That is way too small for this head. Your shoulders have to go out, 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 past your ear, keep going, and then you can curve. And that's all we're drawing. We're not drawing hands or arms or your body. Typically, usually your self-portraits or portraits in general are only from like your shoulders up, showing just your head and your face and your shoulders. So this is where we stopped for class 1. So if you missed last week, this is the goal. This is where you should stop for the day. A couple of us maybe started thinking about what you wanted to do for your border design. If you have a great idea and you don't want to forget, like maybe you want to do some kind of like a rainbow design, you can go ahead and you can start drawing like just maybe 1 or 2 so you don't forget your idea. But don't feel like you need to go ahead and complete this. You're going to always have plenty of time to work on your border design if you're ever ahead of people. Maybe you finished step 2 and you're ready for step 3, but we're waiting for your classmates. Work on your border design in pencil. This is always something that you could kind of work on and do on your own. All right, we're going to stop here, and I will see you in class this week.